A couple announcements to make here. Number one, Stan Weber at a Graf Ware and coach's office out there had this drawing for the software in this little book right here, business cards and whatever you put in this little book right here. And the guy that won it was Peter Rosamano, University of Albany. Is he here? He's not here. He had to fill out this fucking form 25 years, I think, somewhere in that area. He was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was at the University of Rhode Island way back in 1969. He coached back in Rhode Island, and then he went to Tampa Bay. And in Tampa Bay, he's been with the Detroit Lions, with the New England Patriots twice, with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the New York Jets. I mean, that's a long time, isn't it?
I started when I was 12.
He started when he was 12. He just looks old like that. It's stress of the profession. Anyway, he's going to talk about alternative in protections to the fire zone blitzes, which is pretty good subject, because all that stuff, as you guys come up with it, it hits us first, and then it all filters down to you guys. So we got to try to figure it out before we can pass it on, and sometimes we never figure it out, let me tell you. But anyway, Billy Muir, a great clinician, great offensive line coach, New York Jets. Stick that in your pocket.
High-tech shit, man.
High tech. Yeah, we're high tech.
All right.
You got it.
Okay. Good afternoon, men. Hope that we'll be able to keep you awake after that lunch break. Always look forward to having the opportunity to exchange thoughts. Whether I'm going to a school to work out a player and have a chance to visit with the coaches for a while, or in a situation like this, I think it's excellent. I've been here all morning. I'll be here to the end. It's sort of like what my mother used to tell me when I was younger. Trouble with knowing everything is you can't learn anything new. All right, so my attitude about this business is that it's evolves. It's evolutionary, all right? And so you may not agree with, you may not do exactly what the people are talking about, all right? But it behooves you, if you want to continue to improve, to listen to what's going on. And always what I try to do is question the things that I'm doing and the way that I'm doing them. Is there a better way to do them? Is there an alternative way to do them? And over, I come back to the same, all right, point of view. And it's twofold. Number one, whatever you're trying to do, make sure that it's what your players can best do. Don't ask them to do something that they're not capable of doing. I don't care how good it is. You may see a play, or there may be a technique, and you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But if they're not capable of handling it, all right, then you're not giving them a chance to win. All right, and I think, I think it was Bill Callahan said it earlier. I think the very most important thing you do when you stand in front of your team during the course of the week, at the beginning of the week, is make sure they realize that you're giving them a plan, all right, that they can win with. Whether that goes to a specific play or a specific technique. And then the second principle is just very simple. It's the old insurance axiom from years ago. Keep it simple, stupid. So everything I do, I try to keep that philosophy in mind. All right, keep it simple. I think I'm the stupid one, all right? But everything I do, I try to minimize, all right, and try to focus for the players what's important now. It's an acronym. The armed service is full of them, but when you break it down, what's important now? WIN. All right, and that's basically, all right, how I approach things. Bob was talking a little earlier about how a number of years ago, I don't remember exactly how long ago it was, but we were all down in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, and we were talking, and we were all about 4 offensive line coaches together, and we were talking about how overworked and underappreciated we are as offensive line coaches. When things go well, Either the runners ran well, the passer threw well, or the receivers caught well. When things don't go well, them some bitches can't block worth of shit. All right? Or how many times you've been in a meeting, all right, and all you hear is, oh, God damn, we had a touchdown. We had a touchdown. He's wide open. All right? If only we had blocked him a little bit longer. All right? So that's where we came up with the idea of the mushrooms. You know, that's how they grow mushrooms. All right? They keep them in these caves, and it's damp, all right, and it's dark, all right? And so we said, hey, we're just like a mushroom, all right? They keep us in a dark place, all right, that being, all right, the film room or the tape room or the video room, all right? They feed us shit, all right? So we must be like mushrooms. But you want to be careful that you don't feel too sorry for yourself, all right? There's an old story about the bird and the rabbit. You ever hear that story? Where the rabbit had been foraging all morning long for his food, going into this garden and getting shot at, and going into this, all right, barnyard and getting chased. And he was pretty tuckered out, and he was going down the road, and as he was going down the road, all right, he looked up at the top of this pole, and here was a bird. The bird was just sitting there, doing nothing, relaxed. And he looked up and he said, hey, bird, what do you do all day? He said, I just sit on top of this pole and I don't do anything. Unless it's raining, then I go someplace where it's covered. He said, but I sit up here and I do nothing all day and I just relax. And the rabbit said, boy, I wish I could do that. How do you do nothing all day? He said, it's easy. You just do nothing all day. So the rabbit found him a field, and he sat down in the field and he stretched his legs out and he rolled in the grass and he said, this is a great deal. I'm going to sit here and do nothing all day. And while he was sitting in that field relaxing and doing nothing, this little fox started creeping up behind him, all right, snatched his little neck, bit it, and he was dead. All right, and you know the moral of that story is, all right, you can't sit around and do nothing all day unless you're high up on a pole. All right, So don't feel sorry for yourself because you're overworked, all right, or underappreciated, all right? And when you do feel sorry for yourself, just remember, things could be worse, all right? You could be this fish. All right. A couple of years ago, I guess, we started seeing a lot of what we refer to as zone blitz. And we started seeing a lot of 8-man defensive fronts, people bringing down the safeties, all right? And it appeared that, you know, if you were going to play two-back, all right, football, and you were going to be, all right, a zone team, all right, you were going to have to find a way, all right, to crack that 8-man front. The defense was going to defy you, all right? And in a sense, if that's the way you're going to play ball, all right, then you have to find a way to deal with that. Just like with the advent of the zone blitz. You know, I think a couple years ago, everybody was in 6-man protection. And 6-man protection's very good, all right, until the zone blitz came along. You know, in that 6-man protection, we all work our butt off, all right, being able to see the sight adjust and throwing the sight adjust. Well, it occurred to me one day, it's third down, and we got one of those 6-man protections on, all right, and they brought 2 off the strong side, and the receiver saw it, the quarterback saw it. We did everything right, but the punt team was going on the field. You know, what's wrong with this pitcher? All right, if they bait you into your sight adjust, and then all of a sudden, all right, they got somebody sitting in there making a tackle. All right, so the defense, in my opinion, at that point had pretty much caught up with 6-man protection. And so now what you were going to have to decide is how you were going to handle that. All right, just like if they want to bring that 8th man down in the box, in the paint, as Billy was describing it earlier, and your 2-back set, you got to decide how you want to deal with that. All right, now there are some runs and there's some adjustments that you can make. All right, or you could take another route. And that basically was a direction that we started to experiment with, simply because of the fact that I think to really bludgeon people against that 8-man front, you got to have a couple things. One of the things is you got to have a great lead blocker. We didn't necessarily have a great lead blocker. I don't know whether there are many of those around anymore. All right, we can't seem to find them. And you're going to have to block the edge. And do you have physical tight ends? Can you get that done with those tight ends? And most of what we were seeing was 4-man fronts, and you're getting these big, strong, Warren Sapp type guys playing over the guards. And quite frankly, we didn't know whether we were going to be able to bang on those guys all day with the inside, outside zone or lead play. So we felt that there had to be some different ways to go. All right, so we began to evolve a little philosophy, all right, in terms of how we were going to approach these two things. And time permitting, I'm going to try to get to both of them. But, all right, let's start out with this zone protection. Now, first of all, let me tell you, last year, all right, we threw the ball 637 times. That's not good, all right? Obviously, there were some extenuating circumstances. Any of you stayed up till about 2:30 in the morning. One Monday, you saw us play Miami. I think the game ended at 1:55. Then if you could have gone to sleep after that game, you're a better man than I. All right, and we had 90-some plays in that game. We had a couple games where we had to come from behind, but we had 637, I think, was the most pass attempts in the National Football League last year. As I said, it's not always a good thing. All right, we had 20 sacks for the year. There's a statistic, Elias Statistics, that keeps statistics of sacks. All right, so those aren't our figures. And they came out, somebody showed me an article just about a week ago, the 5 best pass protectors, all right, in the National Football League. All right, there were 2 players in the National Football League played the whole season without giving up a sack. All right, Larry Allen, the fine offensive guard from Dallas, which Hudson Hawk will talk about. All right, one of the best offensive linemen I've seen since John Hanna. I coached, nobody coached him. I worked with John Hanna, and I think Larry Allen may be as fine a guard as he was, and I considered him the best guard that's ever played in the National Football League. All right, right up the road at Indianapolis, their center Saturday was the only other one that gave up no sacks. The best left tackle in the league was Jason Fabini, a Bearcat who plays for us, drafted in the 4th round. All right, I think Jason gave up, I think it was 3.5 sacks. All right, that's out of 697 attempts. He only missed 14 snaps the whole season. All right, so there's your left tackle, there's your left guard and Larry Allen, there's your center. The right guard, the best right guard in the league was Randy Thomas, our right guard. Gave up 1/4, 0.25. All right, 1/4 of a sack. How they figured that out, I don't know. And there were 3 guys tied at tight end, at right tackle with 2.5. My whole point is that I'm not a statistic man. The most important thing is how many games you win. All right, but this just illustrates, in my opinion, all right, that we must be on the right track. Okay, and that's the only reason I mention those things. Now, when you're going to see, all right, zone blitzes, all right, basically they're like Bob's screen. They're limited only by the imagination of the defensive people. But generally speaking, the 3 most common, all right, that we see, all right, number 1, all right, is too strong. All right, now this, you can take any formation you want. All right, once you spread this guy out, he'll go out, but we got too strong, and there'll be some type of a cover 3 or a cover 2 behind it. And the key to this, and this is important, principle for you to understand, all right, when they are zone blitzing you, somewhere in their coverage there's a giant hole. And it's important that you give the quarterback time to find that hole. And I think this is behind what I'm going to paint for you as an approach. This is the key, that they're trying to outnumber your protection, but in doing so and being able to play zone coverage as opposed to across the board man coverage, they're exposing themselves. If you find time to find, all right, how they've exposed themselves. Now, in preparation, most people are going to bring 2 strong, or you're going to play a cover 2 or cover 3 behind it, and you're going to know where the hole is. It's not a different place every time. All right? Or, I don't know how it is, all right, where you're playing at now, but I can tell you for the last 2 years, possibly 3, but for the last 2 years for sure, if we played somebody and they had a true guard bubble to an open side, I don't care whether that's your strong side or not, but to an open side, that's Mike Will, all right, you were getting too weak. All right, even if this guy was out on the slot, you were getting too weak. That was a given. All right, again, all right, they're going to play a cover 2 or some form of a cover, all right, what I call 4 or weak side invert, all right, and here's where the hole is going to be, because it's going to be in a zone drop. And not as frequent as the other 2, all right, would be this cross, all right, any bubble defense where there are 2 or more linebackers bubbled, all right, and sometimes there's 3, all right, then you have this cross dog in the middle, all right. These are the 3 most common, not that there are others, that there aren't others, but those frequently, when you take in terms of just numbers, these were what we had to deal with most of the time. All right, so our thought, we'll have an overview here first, and then we'll get specific. All right, our thought was, all right, 3 things. All right, and we've had a coaching change with the Jets since last year, but the last 3 years, the offensive coordinator had been Dan Henning. And as an offensive coach, you couldn't have found a more offensive line friendly coordinator, because we used to start on Tuesday mornings, and the first question he would say to me is, what problems do we have in protection, either scheme or matchup? And then he would design the passing game based upon what we were going to have to do by protection. And Vinny Testaverde, our quarterback, he also was a very quarterback, a very offensive line friendly, all right, quarterback, all right, because he understands, all right, the importance of getting rid of the ball. And I think everybody understands and can appreciate the fact that pass protection is not just about the offensive line. Pass protection is about, again, remember the first thing I said, a mentality that says, hey, either your protectors or your receivers, you're not going to ask those people to do something they're not capable of doing. All right, so if you don't have great athletes up front and you're doing a lot of 7-step drop, you're doing a disservice to them and to yourself. So by enabling, all right, your pass protection to fit the ability of your protectors or your receivers and everybody in a coordinated effort, that's how you throw 697 passes and only have 20 sacks. You know, that's not because of a great offensive line or a dominance at any one position. All right? So our approach is very simple. If we're going to see a zone blitz team, all right, and I would say out of 16 games, regular season games, we're probably talking 8 to 10 weeks. This is our conversation. All right, first of all, we're going to go to base protections. Now, what do I mean by base as opposed to max? Base protections are 7-man protections. Now, we'll vertical, all right? In other words, we'll take the 4 down linemen, all right, and the 3 linebackers, all right? I'll detail this in a minute, all right? But we'll take care of 7 people, all right? And I believe, all right, that the backs can read their way out almost as quickly as they can get out on a free release. But by taking an approach where you block 7, when they rush, all right, you got them picked up, all right, and the quarterback has time to find that hole. There's no sight adjust anywhere, unless the safeties are involved, all right, as a third element, then obviously your sight adjust falls in to play with your wide receivers, okay? So you can have 7-man protection in slide protection. You can have 7-man protection, all right, in straight drop back protection. All right, you can have 7-man protection in play action. All right, I have a particularly fond of one type of play action protection in this type of situation that I'll show you examples of. But that was one thought, all right? Here we're going to have base protection. Put all the 7-man protection away, okay? Number 2, we're going to move the pocket in some fashion. Well, we only had 2 fashions. We either aggressively blocked at a gap and went semi-sprint out, and of course now everything that you're throwing over here outside of perhaps a go to clear that you might have occasionally throw to keep them honest, all right? Everything's either slant ins or slant in a diagonal out, all right? Or we set, not like the old dash, all right, but we set in a drop back fashion, all right, and move the pocket as the quarterback moved. All right, most of the time we threw double ins and post. But the problem, obviously, the problem with moving the pocket, when you move the pocket in a direction, what have you done? All right, you've reduced, all right, the field. Usually now you got a third cylinder. Not a lot of options that way, but it's a nice change up. And last but not least, all right, in terms of method, we decided, hey, we're going to spread them out. And by spreading them out, I mean empty. I mean that's nobody in the backfield at all. All right? That's 3 receivers to one side, 2 receivers to the other side. And I've been doing this for about 7 years, this particular protection. All right, so the evolution of it for me has been, all right, kind of interesting. You know, because as an offensive line coach, the first thing you think about is, all right, an empty backfield set and you're throwing a ball, you think, God damn, I want nothing to do with this shit. All right, because nothing good can happen. All right, but I'm a convert, all right? Nothing worse than a reformed alcoholic. So I'm a believer, and we have evolved into this, and the genesis of it is just simply this. It spreads them out, all right? And when they spread out, then it defines things for you. So if they're trying to do something, all right, you see it quickly, all right, and you can react quickly, all right? And it puts a lot of pressure on the defense. It doesn't put as much pressure on the offense as you might think. And we've evolved, if we have time, all right, as I talk about these things, I'll try to explain to you some of the things, the nuances of that formation, all right, and that package that have given us a lot of productivity and give us a lot of confidence in doing that. So the short and the long of it is then, all right, hey, we're going to play a blitz zone team. We know we're going to be getting 2 strong, 2 weak, perhaps 2 up the middle, and this is what our approach is going to be. All right, now, what is base protection as I'm describing it? All right, it doesn't make any difference, all right, what you call it, but basically what we're dealing with here, all right, is a 7-man protection. Let's start down here at the bottom. This happens to come out of our 80 series. We're really the 4 down linemen, all right? The 4 down defensive linemen are the responsibility, all right, of the offensive line. The Mike linebacker falls into that, and the backs are responsible for the outside element, whether that's the weak safety and Will or the strong safety and Sam. So you can see in this particular situation, all right, we can block 7, all right, and that's mostly all they're going to bring. And if they overload a side and bring the safety and the strong outside backer, then they're no longer in blitz zone. Now they're in man or not man free. It may even be 0 blitz coverage, all right, with no free safety, and your sight adjust would take care of that by the wide receivers. But this is as good a protection, in my opinion, as you can get. All right, if you're a 1-back team, you can simulate the same protection, all right, by just simply exchanging the responsibility for one of these 2 backs, all right, to the tight end. Now, what I don't like about that is now on this side, the tight end doesn't have the same flexibility as a back has in the backfield. So you'll see some examples where we were in 1-back offense. In other words, 1 back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers, or perhaps 1 back is detached, all right, and we moved the tight end into the backfield so that he would have that type of flexibility. All right, now there's some nuances, all right, to that protection, but basically, All right, the whole idea is to keep big on big. And a couple of the nuances I'll just point out to you here is that occasionally you're going to get teams that want to play 34 type mentality with 4 down linemen. And so you have, all right, a situation where the tackle and the guard are going to have to identify that. So even if the tight end is covered by a defensive end, all right, we're going to turn out on that. And in the 34, if we're playing a pure 34 defense, we don't like to match our halfback, who's quite willing, Curtis Martin. We don't like to match him up on a wheel linebacker, all right, who is the known rusher and the high-frequency rusher. So we'll fan that. All right, so although characteristically, all right, that's not a 4-man front, we'll create a 4-man front mentality by fanning the guard and tackle to that side, keep them on a jack. We may or may not dual read. That's what that rip means on the front side. Certainly when we're thinking in terms of max protection, we don't do that. All right, now if you're a slide team, and the one advantage of being in that drop back base protection, as I just showed it to you, is that you have the whole field for your passing game. All right, so you can go ahead and run, whether it's slot, all right, whether you're balanced, all right, you have the whole field to your passing game. Now, if you're a slide team, all right, then this seven-man protection simply involves keeping the tight end in and having the remaining back be responsible for the first bubble side backer. This is a particularly effective protection. All right, if you're a slot, if you like to run a lot of slot, again, you could be 3 receivers or, all right, you could be regular and have one of your backs detached, but now all of a sudden, all right, you can have a 2-man passing game working over here on your slot side. You got all that picked up. The only problem with this protection is you have a problem with strong safety. He has to be handled by sight adjust by Z, which we had that built in most of the time. This is an excellent protection, and in my opinion, you need both. Why do you need both? Because the defense is designed line stunts and blitzes once they know what your protection is. So if it's slide protection, in their mind, all right, then they're going to try to gig you with a lot of too strong because they know that's where your vulnerability is. All right, so by mixing protections, that's why having that one-back solid protection and then having a one-back slide protection, all right, that fouls up what they perceive as a tendency. Now, this was a particularly good protection, all right, against too weak. And boy, I tell you what, if you play slot, you're going to get a lot of too weak. And we never redirected the slide on the over defenses. All right, we packered. All right, in other words, we brought the tackle, the strong side tackle down. All right, regardless, because the percentage of the time, all right, the high percentage of the time, you're getting too weak, you're getting zone blitz, and the strong end is dropping. So we felt that it was a pretty reasonable task to assign the back to take on that defensive end, considering the fact that at least half, and that's conservative, at least half of the time he wasn't going to have to deal with him. All right? Now there are some people that would redirect. There's going to be a point in time, all right, when we will redirect in certain protections, all right? When there's nobody to slide to, then we'll convert the slide to a mic. But as long as there's somebody to slide to, all right, we're going to keep the slide to the slide side. All right, now, that sort of touches on what I want to show you here. Too weak, all right, however they want to get into too weak, all right, but this is a big blitz, all right, and this protection is excellent against this. And what we do, all right, is we just start to slide with this tackle. And I call this the Bermuda Triangle right here. All right, because the guard and the tackle have to be aware of what's going on with this Mike linebacker. Because these people are going to balance off the rush. All right, so they're going to, as I say, jump on the sword of that right guard and that right tackle. So this center has to be ready to come back and bump, all right, the tackle on the defensive end, because as long as this guy's coming from off the ball, all right, this tackle right here, if he can get a hand on that defensive end, he'll hold that as long as he can before he comes off. But the tackle's got to come back and force the switch. Now, that's a big element in this protection right here, especially going into a game where you know you got 2 weeks. But this is good. This is good ball. All right, now, play action. We're talking about two backs. We're talking about dot in the eye. All right, this is, all right, sliding weak, two backs strong. That's 7-man protection. We even took it one step further. We would line the tight end in an off location, bring him across the formation and check for safety blitz, all right, and then if nothing showed, he released into a pattern. All right, but again, the point that I'm making to you is, all right, you got a 7-man protection. Now, maybe you're not a drop-back team. Maybe you're play action. But whatever your best 7-man protection is, and hopefully what are a combination of 7-man protections, whatever they are, that's what you want to employ. All right, and you pick up all that stuff that they're throwing at you, and you give the quarterback time to find out where the hole is. Now, one of my favorite protections in this type of situation, all right, in that 7-man variety is a play action, and it marries in with some things that we do running the ball, which hopefully I'll get a chance to talk to you about. All right, but we like to run a lot of counter or misdirection. All right, and now what we've enabled ourselves to do here, all right, is that we have pretty good run fake here, and the most important thing about it is it's gap blocking. So this is an over-exaggeration, all right, but really it's just like field goal protection. Start with that right guard or that right tackle, that right guard in the center, and on the snap of the ball, they're all going to step and block gaps. Not hard, not sell out, but they're going to step and block gaps. All right, the offensive guard, all right, the off guard is going to pull, and he's going to shut down right outside of the onside tackle and block the first thing that shows. And the back, when he comes off of his fake, sits right underneath that offensive guard, and he blocks the second thing he shows. All right, and I'll be doggone, all right, when it's all said and done, all right, what does that look like to you on this side right here? It look like a field goal or an extra point protection scheme right there? And it's excellent. And usually what happens when you start doing this, here's a great example of a 2-week defensive look. Number one, this guy's going to come across the tackle's face, so that's good. So the tackle will wind up blocking him. He's coming off the edge and sees a guard pulling. He shuts it down to take on the run. And if we don't need this guy in protection, then he's always an outlet in the flat. All right? Now you still have a 7-man protection. All right? You have a very good play action fake that affects the linebackers, all right, the edge rushers, all right, and even to a certain degree, not that there's a great deal of it, there is some movement by the quarterback, all right, but I don't consider that, all right, quarterback movement. I'll show you some clips of this. 2 very important coaching points. Number one, on the front side, all right, I simply tell these people, it doesn't make care what defense it is, but I just simply tell these people, and this is what you have to coach over exuberance, don't chase air. In other words, if your man disappears, all right, stop and wait, because invariably something will come back, whether it's a line stunt, all right, whether it's a dog. We'll get to some clips. I'll show you some people who really try to overload this, all right, and with this concept of a control gap, all right, and not chasing air, all right, it's a very stable protection. And on the back side, all right, normally, because we liked a lot of movement, because I think changes strength, all right, motion, screws with a defense, even a zone blitz defense, because it affects their coverage, all right, this guy, all right, and this is the most important coaching point for him, although he started physically at the outside leg of the tackle, he was responsible for anything that came, all right, from the sideline in. All right, now, I'm paranoid, and that's an understatement. Here, I'll give you a good example. I'm paranoid about any time I ask the center to block back, whether it's a protection or a run, that this guy would, all right, just loop around them. So we do a major emphasis of this tackle, all right, so I don't clutter up the drawing here. Where's another one? Here. This tackle sets down hard enough so that we, in effect, all right, double this defensive end, and then he comes back out. So there are times when the tight end sets and he's blocking this guy, the tight end will come out and bump him, and then he'll come off for whoever that outside rusher is right there. Again, the Bermuda Triangle is very important to me here, because anytime there's a guard bubble, there's a possibility of this stun occurring. Now, when you're fanning, you would like to think this guard, when he fans, will take care of that end so that he won't cross his face, and that'll be an easy bump out of the center. But here, there is no fan. So as that end goes inside, the tackle closes down with him, and he has to wait until the center bumps him off before he comes out. All right, so in this particular situation right here, this is a big alert for us. We get a Bermuda call. That means we got this weak side bubble behind us, and this guy's going to get right on the edge. He's not going to vacate and create a seam for this guard, but he's going to get, all right, his inside shoulder and the outside shoulder and hang and watch and leave if he has to leave. If you could coach those three principles, the gap principle, all right, the inside-out principle, and the Bermuda Triangle principle right there, which are not difficult to coach, you just need a lot of reps at the different looks. All right, this is an excellent, and it's not necessarily a protection that you have to exclusively use because you're thinking of a blitz situation, but this is an excellent protection overall. And it's good because it has some movement associated with it. Now, just quickly, I'll show you what I mean by moving the pocket. Everybody has something like it, all right, where either we're aggressive, all right, and these guys are attacking the front side gap much like a toss play, and the quarterback's challenging, all right, the edge. And like I said, the problem with this is, A, you reduce the field, all right, and B, all right, you're basically, all right, restricted to some type of go, all right, out or slant, all right, drag pattern. So, you know, this is something that is a change-up, but it's not a mainstay. I think the other three protections that I talked to you about, they're mainstays. We do that aggressively, and we also do this, all right, in a drop-back fashion, all right, where the line, all right, will set slightly to the play side gap in a drop-back fashion. And the key point is that they block gaps and not men. And usually we're moving the tight end. So this is a nice, all right, change up, because sometimes you're moving a tight end and he's releasing in a pattern. Sometimes you're moving a tight end like on that jab protection I showed you, and he's sitting down blocking a backside. Sometimes you're moving the tight end, or the third element. It doesn't have to be the tight end. Sometimes for us it's the fullback, because we have three wide receivers, all right? And then he sits down on the front side and he secures the edge. Now this is a moving pocket. Quarterback will come back home. It's a 5-step drop, slightly on the roll, so that when he sets up, he's right in the gap between the guard and the tackle, slightly inside the inside leg of the tackle, and then he will move, all right, as he waits for the patterns to develop. Usually the deep 18-yard comeback, or what we call squirrel, where we're faking out and go up, all right, or clear out and bring somebody across. But again, it's excellent protection. It buys time. Its effectiveness is limited because you're reducing the field. And if you're not running a lot of outside patterns, all right, but it's a great third down look. All right, now, last but not least, let's talk about spreading them out. All right, now, here's what I'm talking about. Just give you a little history lesson here. Like I said, I've been in this empty protection thing for about, go on the 6th or 7th year since I've had to deal with it. When we first started, this was a 4 wide receiver package. So you would run on your 4 wide receivers, you'd go to an empty backfield look, and most people matched you up with some form of sub-defense. All right, so with that thought in mind, all right, our approach was, all right, from a sub standpoint, what you had to do is that you had to protect the quarterback if there was any type of direct vertical entry by any bubble backer. Well, you know, even if it were 5 of us, all right, when you wind up putting, all right, 5 people out, all right, that means they're going to put 5 people out. So, I mean, that's elementary, but my point I'm trying to illustrate is there's only so many people that are left. So it becomes obvious on pre-snap whether they intend to play coverage or whether they intend to blitz you. I remember when we first started this with the Jets, and Jimmy Johnson went to Miami, every time that we got in this formation, he blitzed it one way. And he blitzed it that way so often, all right, that we wind up just calling it the Miami Blitz. All right, and other people began to copy it. And for years, all right, if you were in this situation right here, all right, this is what you wound up seeing. All right, if they left 6 people in the box off of the edge, all right, whether they ran a line stun here, which they ran 2 most of the time, 1 of the 2, they brought these guys off the edge hard, knowing that in empty you could only block one side and you had to be hot off of that side, and they were hoping that this guy could either make you throw quicker than you want to or alter the path of the ball. And some people got fancy and they said, all right, we're going to bring these guys from inside. And then they brought them from inside and everybody dropped out. Okay? But again, it was a known. In other words, you knew, all right, when you lined up here that if they had 6, all right, of any variety, if they had 6 in the box, they were getting ready to come after your ass. All right? And so, and the theory of the whole concept is, all right, there's a lot of space out here. This guy right here usually, all right, was our sight adjust guy. The inside receiver, all right, as soon as he saw that coming right here, there was his route. Well, okay. So now, all right, they started putting somebody in here to take that route away. All right, so then that was his route. Or then that was his route. All right, but he knew as soon as that guy was coming that he was free, and he knew where he had to go with the ball, and bingo. That's what I mean by defining it. It's hard to get to. All right, then, if you go back to this drawing right here, all right, this guy right here, when they wanted to play coverage, start cheating so far outside, all right, that he was concerned about that route. Slants, all right, were the most popular form of this protection, 2 in, 1 out. All right, so he was trying to get underneath the first slant, wherever it came from. Well, he started removing himself so far that you could tell right away he wasn't a threat. So most of the time we wound up with 5-on-4. And we did coach these 3 people up here to read the safeties. All right, as long as there was 2 deep safeties, they weren't going to bring anybody. They couldn't bring anybody. If they wanted to, all right, with 2 deep safeties, if they wanted to bring this guy here, then that guy better be dropping out. But as soon as, all right, there was a single safety, all right, and they were bringing this guy to back up, all right, one of these people, then we knew, all right, hey, they got this guy backed up. He's coming. So now, hey, we got to be alert. So this protection evolved into a form of slide protection if there was somebody to slide to. And that's what I was referring to earlier, Bob. We came out and said, hey, if that guy's backed up by a safety, we're sliding because we're never going to let the quarterback get hit from his backside. All right? And if there's no threat out there, then we'll redirect, all right, and we'll be responsible for that guy. All right? And if, all right, that guy is over here, all right, we may even redirect the slide. So we started out at a basis of slide away from the number, no threat, come back to base, redirect the slide. Okay? Now you say, boy, that's a lot. Well, it sounds like a lot, but it's not. All right? It defines itself. I'll give you a perfect example in terms of where we went with this. All right? Eventually, what we decided to do is, first of all, we didn't have 4 wide receivers we wanted to put on the field. All right? So we said, hey, let's go on the field with our regular setup. For us, our regular setup was 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 backs. And defensively, they're going to come on the field, all right, expecting us to be in a conventional offense. Let's then shift to empty. All right? Now, what have you done? You've dictated to the defense. If this is a blitz zone team, all right, now all of a sudden you emptied, you spread them out. I don't know how many of them want to continue with their blitz zone. First of all, it's hard as hell to adjust, so they can't. So double blitzes may come to single blitzes. Matter of fact, we played one team that was a, conservatively speaking, they were a 40% dog team on, and I'm talking about 2nd and 5, 1st and 10, and they were a high, all right, line stunt team regardless of down and distance. All right, and we shifted, all right, to empty and regular. They blitzed us 3 times. First 3 times we were in it, picked it up, got a completion each time. Rest of the game, they rushed 4, and I'll be damned, they didn't even run line stunts. All right, which they were a great TE team. They grabbed to somebody. It forces their mindset. It changes the way they're going to approach the game. All right, and so you say, well, I don't want to get into a situation where what it sounds like you're saying to me is you're going to pass the ball every time. No, what I'm saying to you is this approach is a multiple approach. All right, there are going to be times, all right, like I know Paul Alexander is going to talk about, Bill Callahan already talked about, I know Hudson's going to talk about, you're going to line up in your 2 back and you're going to attack that 8-man front. But listen, I don't think you can do that, all right, for 65 snaps a game. You know, I think what you need to do is you need to be able to change up. This is a great change up. So basically, what this evolved to, all right, was nothing more than slide protection, all right. I just have slide protection as an illustration here when you would do it with a 1-back set, but take that guy out. This became slide protection for us. Our regular against their regular defense. And if this guy walked out on that second receiver here and there was a single safety and he wasn't backed up, then, or if he was so far off the ball we didn't think he was a threat, we didn't slide to him anymore. We redirected to him. All right, but our premise was, all right, look, quarterback, you ain't ever getting hit from behind. All right, and if there's no behind threat, then we'll take care of the middle threat. All right, so people, I keep wanting to write on that, and if I do, we'll have hell to pay because it won't work. All right? So I guess you could say very simply that this was a modified slide protection, but I'm going to deviate just for a second with you, and I want to show you something. All right, now, all right, here we are. Now, basically, all right, you're going to get something like this most of the time. I showed you the 2 blitzes. That's whether this is an over and under makes no difference. This element of the defense is going to get to the 3 receiver side so he can get out of the inside pattern. So I don't give a shit, all right, what defense you're playing. They're going to put a guy on each one of those guys, and most people like to play with 2 safeties. So I would tell you 9 times out of 10, that's a configuration you're going to get. All right? Now, what we started to do now, tie it in with what Bob talked about earlier, all right? I call it the poor man's sweep. So you're saying, well, you're going to throw the ball every time you're in this? No. All right? We would, all right, to either side, all right, we would throw that slip screen. All right? Tackle cutting, guards coming out. We would throw that. That's a sweep to me. Okay? We would throw it to either side. We threw it to both sides. All right? Simultaneously, in a check with me package, all right, where the quarterback had the option of running the quarterback draw if there was nobody in the box with wide threes, or based upon which way the safety's tilted, he could throw it to either side. All right, so we had, all right, the quick screen to either side. We had a double quick screen with a quarterback, all right, check. And then we began, because you want to change up this, you don't always want to slide away from the three, all right, receiver side. Defense will pick up on that, and then they start coming off of this side, zone drop on that side, overload your protection, force hot. So you want to change that up every once in a while, as long as the inside receiver over here is ready to, all right, to make the hot reads. But we also started to bring this guy in motion. This was the interesting thing about it, the evolution of it that I'm talking about. All right, so now, you know this inside guy is important to us because, all right, he's the hot. He's the guy that handles all the hot. So we start bringing him across. Now, the defense doesn't know whether he's going out in a pattern and you're running your normal empty stuff. You'd be sliding right in this case, sliding, all right, left in this case, and your hot would be, sliding right and your hot would be left. All right, or we started pulling him up. And now we changed this into a six-man protection. He started blocking the guy on the edge, and we slid everything down here. So now we were in, for this protection, we were in really a maximum protection because he sat down and blocked. When you say, whoa, who is this guy? All right, well, he didn't come out of a phone booth and he didn't have an S on his chest. All right, he was, sometimes in regular, he was our tight end, and sometimes in three wide receivers, he was a wide receiver or a fullback. All right, now our fullback last year caught 88 passes. All right, now this guy would sit down. He doesn't have to block them forever, even if it's a big guy. He just has to reroute them and get them to go, because remember this, the ball comes out. Plus, we had one other wrinkle to this. Now all of a sudden you had one option where he came out and ran a pattern. You had your normal protection. You had the second option where he pulled up and blocked. Now they don't know he's going to do that. Now you got the third option. He gets a little bit wider than you want him on an inside action block. Let this guy beat him inside, and he turns, and we throw the screen to him, much like the last screen that Bob was illustrating. I think you called that slip screen. Well, we did it off of what we call packer action. Our philosophy on this is everybody's blocking to the inside. So that tackle, all right, and that guard would block down hard, all right, and then they would come back out. Now, invariably, as this guy motions across, now remember, that element was here to the three receiver side. Whoever is covering him, or they'll redirect the safety, somebody will come with him. So that when he caught the screen, somebody was going to be here. So the tackle took him, all right, and the guard ran what I called the alley, right down, all right, between the numbers and the hash, all right, blocking MDM. So we had a little package there, all right, which it's a hell of a package. Now, you're not going to live with that all the time, all right, but that's interesting. Now, I'll show you one other thing, then we'll get back to the protection because I'm getting off of it here a little bit, but that's all right. Because we shifted with regular people, all right, now sometimes by down and distance, people would say to us, well, you know, they would start guessing with us and they would put sub on the field. We love that. All right, that was what, you know, we really got excited about, finding ways to get people to put a substituted defense on the field so we could do what? Go back and run our regular offense. It was an oversimplification, but what we're trying to do here is almost play the game in reverse. Throw the ball when they think you're going to run it, and run it when they think you're going to throw it, all right, in terms of how they identified their element. But okay, in this formation, all right, empty out of regular, this was always H, that was always X, and this was always F. All right, and the way we displaced our people. Now, actually, X was on the line and H was off. We would shift, all right, Curtis back into the backfield. Now, obviously, I know when you did that, that brought somebody back in the backfield too. But we had exactly, whether it was over or under, all right, whether it was regular or sub, all right, we had exactly what we wanted. we would wind up with 6 in the box. That's what we were always trying to get, all right, to run the ball against. But this almost guaranteed 6 in the box, all right? Now, when we did that, when we brought him back in the backfield, we had a package. Package started out with this, all right, just simply, all right, a quick draw, all right, with 6 in the box. All right, we asked the onside tackle to go 2 for 1 on this guy. We blocked backside, so he always knew he had the cutback. Okay? Now, pretty soon, every time they saw him shuffle this way, everybody started playing a draw. So what we added counter weak. All right, now remember, this is the Y here. All right, so he's sitting in a one-on-one relationship. So we started him here, all right, and we would pull him, and now we'd run the counter back here. Or we would quick count him, all right, and run the toss. We love to run the toss. Bob talks about getting in formations and inventing formations to run that rocket and laser, did you call it, Bob? We invented formations to run the toss. So now we're going to run the toss out here. Simply block Y down, all right, block Z down, block F down. Their rule was simply block the first man to the inside, on or off the line of scrimmage. Always leave the last man for the tackle, all right, and the tackle would pull and block that corner. And we ran the toss. All right, so we had a little thing going there where, all right, we could have regular people on the field. All right, shift to empty. They adjust, takes them out of their game plan. That's the end of that blitz zone stuff. Really, the most I've ever seen come against that is 6, and you can pick 6 up. I'll show it to you. Then you bring the halfback, all right, back in, and you got a little bit of an offense right here. Not to mention the fact that, all right, that he's back in the backfield now, all right, and you can block. You're back to 6-man protection, all right, with a little better numbers situation, all right, because you still got 3 wide receivers over here, whether they are actually wide receivers, but you got 3 detached receivers over here, all right. So they got to keep 3 people out there, all right. So again, all right, your 6-man protection makes more sense, all right, because you're not blocking it against that loaded situation, all right. So that's a little bit too much philosophy, all right, but at least it gives you an idea, hopefully, all right, of where we were coming from. Now, I have some pictures here. If I can figure out how to work this animal. Anything I did to make this go out of focus? That's what that goldfish looked like when he heard the button go in. All right. Here's an example right here, all right, of what I was talking to you about. Am I in anybody's way? Can you see this? All right. Or maybe it'd be better sitting down. Show it to you from the sideline first. Now we're in this maximum, all right, protection mode or base protection mode. Notice how the tight end's coming across the formation and sitting down. All right, so he really takes the place of the fullback, and here comes 2 strong. All right, notice the motion man running over, all right, with the tight end. Actually, where the ball was snapped, all right, we treat him as a Mike linebacker. All right, a very simple rule for, very simple rule for the uncovered, because when you got motion or any kind of bastard look formation-wise, all right, the rule for the uncovered lineman is the center, whoever the middle of the 3 people are, we spot them. We don't care what numbers are on their jersey. All right, we spot them. And the way the thing was lined up to begin with, the Mike linebacker as the center would have identified him was over 74. But with that motion adjustment right here, all right, then the Mike linebacker, all right, changed with the motion adjustment. But there was an example of basically 2 weak. All right. It's against the Buffalo Billy Goats. All right, we're in, all right, Three wide receiver personnel, but again, here's base protection. Here comes two strong. All right? Now they're in a three-man front, so the zone blitz is a little easier for them to operate from. All right, we see that guy dropping up there on the top of the screen. Have a little technical problems here with our pointers and our focus. There we go. All right. You got a better one here? I got that one out of Kmart. This is probably the one you stole from. Oh. There's a good look at it now. Basically, against a three-man front, all right, watch the left guard and left tackle here. Watch them fan. All right, we're trying to keep the back off of that linebacker who's a known rusher. All right. You know, you've had a lot of drill work and technique work here. I think one of the most important things I heard this morning about pass protection is basically the importance of hand play. And I think when you watch, hopefully when you watch us play, you'll see effective use of hands. Here's the old dreaded bear. Everybody sinks down. All right, too strong. Again, from a protection standpoint, all right, we're in good shape. From an execution standpoint, we don't block it worth a shit, all right, because the left guard's slow passing off that twist right there, that TE. Not bad. See how he punches and flattens that guy out? Watch the left guard right here. Now, that's not a bad job right there. See how he flattens the guy out? But he doesn't get off quick enough. All right? This is an excellent point made this morning. On that right there, it's not that you don't wait for the bump of the tackle. All right? What I teach him right here is you got to set, cut him off, punch and throw is exactly what I tell him. Punch and throw. And here he doesn't punch and throw. He's a little late getting off. But again, all right, so what I'm talking about, protection, all right, we got a quarterback friendly from a protection standpoint there. He will get rid of the ball. All right, here's another example, 3 wide receivers, all right, I only bring one, all right, but they hugged up here pretty good. But again, the idea is to keep him standing. I tell you what, I believe this more so every year, all right? I don't care how tough these quarterbacks are, all right? They don't like getting hit. So if you got to keep 8 in, all right, and run 2-man patterns, then keep 8 in and run 2-man patterns, all right? Given enough time, somebody will get open. But don't let this guy get hit, all right? Don't let them get hit. They're like horses, man. They'll get gun shy. There's a good example right there. Mike linebacker, all right, as we designate as 59. Now, we work an awful lot, all right, on TTs across a bubble. All right, you notice how the center sitting right in there, post-handing with his left arm, all right, number 90 and not going anywhere, all right, ought to do a little better job trying to stop the penetration. All right, I think the key to all line stunts, but particularly the TTs, is to flatten this guy out so that the looper can't run downhill. If the looper has to run parallel to the line of scrimmage, he can't get there. He won't be a factor. But if you're letting this guy penetrate and he can get downhill, a little bit too much downhill right here to suit me, then you're going to have your hands full. All right, 34 defense again. All right, here comes 2 strong. See what I'm talking about? If you give them time, see the hole in the defense right here? All right, big hole in the defensive coverage. All right, so by basing it up, all right, you give this guy time, all right, to find the hole in the coverage. Well, here, all right, we're running an out, and the receiver gets this guy backed off so much, that's a given. You know, we were one of the few divisions, all right, now that'll change with Buffalo changing, but we saw more 34 defense than most people see. But here's an example again of cross splits inside, max protection. All right, fanning on the left side. Again, trying to keep the back off of him is the reason why we fan so much. All right, base on the front side. All right, here's the back. Key to this is penetration. All right, when they're running that cross splits with those two inside guys, the guard has got to flatten that guy out so that the back can unencumbered get across the back of the formation to pick that up. If that guard allows any penetration right there, all right, then you got no chance. All right, now, here we're in the play action world of 7-man protection right now. I didn't go into the slide. All right, I wanted to get to this. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Now, it's 2 back. We'll get a whole package out of this. All right, watch the right side. All right. They're just bringing, all right, one off the edge here. And when the guard sees that, see the back got too wide on this. All right. The guard has the first thing it shows outside the tackle. All right. And so this guy didn't really penetrate. All right. So the guard saw this guy coming off the edge and he went too wide too fast. But the back was underneath him and he could have compensated a little better than he did. Yeah, we would prefer to keep big man on big man. All right. But that doesn't happen. All right, you got to make the adjustment. All right, there's the dreaded Bermuda Triangle that I'm talking about in the back. Nothing happened that time. We'll look at it at the end zone. All right, but this guy has to be aware of that guy right here, because if he goes weak, all right, then he's part of the 4th element. He has to be able to take care of that. Again, look at it from the end zone. Now here old Trace, all right, he's not respecting the run at all. He hesitates for a second. That's about as hard as it gets for the guard right there. Now he drives him upfield, the quarterback steps up. All right? But look at the patience of the right tackle. There's a good example about don't chase air. See how he's sitting there waiting for something to show up, all right, on the inside? And you get the idea of what we're setting up right here with the guard in the back. Now you would think here, all right, with 68 coming out here on a nice clean hit, and then, all right, we got 2 guys on one, he wouldn't be able to get inside like that and even touch the quarterback. All right, this is about as hard as it gets right here. All right, we did this protection, guess what? All right, there we are. There's a good look. All right, empty left formation. We're shifting the back into the backfield. All right, and we're running this protection. Now, they didn't know we were going to shift back in the backfield, but there's an example of what I'm talking about. All right, in empty protection. All right, now you know right away, all right, what's going to happen here. They're up here, all right, to pressure you. But it's, think of it as gap, 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 all right? And that's exactly what happens, all right? Normally, generically, we're at 2 feet, all right? In most situations, as you can see, we get down here to about a foot, all right? But I don't like to get much closer than that. See, now, There's an example of right tackle chasing air right here. All right, when he needs to be pushing, all right, he eventually recovers, but he needs to be pushing this thing weak. They brought all 4 of these guys weak, which they're running out of holes to going in. All right, you're really borrowing from the right guard to be able to pick up that backside 4. Again, all right, this is a miscalled formation, all right, and the tight end should be back over here on the left side, all right, by alignment, and he blew it, all right. So we got somebody back here unaccounted for, so probably should have had 21 sacks this year. Well, again, there's middle pressure right there, all right? You guys that, long-time Pittsburgh guys, you'll appreciate this. I called this in our scouting report, high diddle-diddle Rogel up the middle. All right, when I used to be the fullback for the Steelers, they ran him up the middle all the time. There's probably the best illustration of it right here in terms of, all right, see the gap concept? See that right guard and right tackle? This right here, I can't tell you, that little outlet right there was huge for us in terms of percentage of completions when we break down his protection, in terms of number of passes caught in average game per catch. That was the man. Again, one off of each edge shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem in 6-man protection, 7-man protection. All right, you expect to be able to handle that. But I think the thing that you're seeing on here, regardless of what the rush is this is a nice change-up protection-wise, and you really get the integrity of a strong inside pocket. All right? Again, watch the right guard. All right? Not chasing anything. See how patient he is? Then go finish and help. But there's nothing there. He can help the tackle on 93, all right? Wait for something to come. Nothing came, all right? Go help. Backside tackle is what I call a chuck technique. All right, basically, as long as that onside guard is covered or there is a man in the linebacker position, he'll take a slight step with his inside foot. If it's a 3 technique, to help the center vice that 3 in case the 3 tries to run around the center's block back. B, all right, if it's a bubble, a little bit of an inside step will give him an advantage versus an inside move by the defensive end. So as long as he's got just a 5 technique right here like this, and he's protecting himself against the inside move, and there's no outside dog by the linebacker, he has the end all the way, all right, because the tight end has the end man on the line of scrimmage, all right, wherever he comes from. Now, if there was a tackle bubble, all right, and there was 53 plus somebody else, then I'd expect the tackle to come back and either bump the tight end off or to sort off the tight end to pick that. But we got 3 on the backside, all right, center, guard, and tackle. And if they bring it via middle rush, all right, then that's when I was talking about earlier, you borrow from the right guard, continuing to push weak. Now this ties in, we run an awful lot of counter, all right, with just this action right here, so that the defense can't just automatically assume we're throwing the ball, although most of those pictures it does look like that because of the down and distance. Just not a good job by the right tackle. All right, schematically, all right, though this is picked up. All right, The outside guy shows first, so he belongs to the guard. All right, the back has the inside backer, and really we wouldn't, as a rule, this is a very dependable, this right tackle, this is unusual for him to lose the guy inside like that. All right, if I can fast forward this thing, we'll go look at some other protections. No. Shit, that looks like one we ought to watch, huh? All right, there it is. It's same protection. Run a little wheel route, but an example of moving the tight end, all right, on the back side here. That point started out with very early this morning about Howard cross the line drill. Really important that you work with that guard. See that guard right there, not a very good job on the cut, but he really opened up well. And that's the secret to this thing. All right, when that guard's pulling, all right, he's got to open up. See how he's opened up full surface to the sideline? Because he's got to get his eyes on that edge. All right, and this is about as tough of an adjustment, all right, that he has to make. All right, that's a defensive end who's not respecting, all right, the run fake at all. He's just going to rush the passer come hell or high water. Now we've even had a couple times where we've had 28 just step up and take them on. We've lost the outlet. We don't like to do that, all right, but we have. Another example, all right, of an overload situation. Again, we're an empty. So again, definition, all right, this is how they were going to rush the empty package. There's a good look at somebody was asking about the left tackle's technique, all right? See how he vices the three with the center? See, really in this particular case, then comes back out onto 29. Again, ball doesn't come out, all right, slow on this. It still comes out pretty quick. Patterns are a little deeper. They're usually 12 to 15 yard ins. All right, now here's a little example of play action. All right, again, 7-man protection. All right, play actions. All right, weak. Tight end sits in. All right, make sure no strong safety blitz is coming, and then he releases. But again, too weak. All right, give a quarterback a chance to find out where the hole is in the coverage. All right, a lot of grass out here. This is protection that everybody has, but it's just, again, an example. If you're a play action team, what I've been showing you how to drop back you can do. Again. All right, one off of each edge. All right, Bob's giving me the high sign here. I'll go to the empty package for you. All right, you can see the profile right here. 3 receivers to that side. We're in regular. All right. See, they're trying to sugar the center, all right, because they're going to bring this guy off the slot. All right, see him snap his hat right there. That's a signal to the wide receivers, all right, that he's sliding that way. So nobody has to sight adjust off of 53. All right, watch the right guard. See the right guard set down? So, see, we were sliding that way. They couldn't sugar us. They didn't know that. They thought it was a simple duel with the center coming out or a slide. All right, there's the drop, all right. Not a good example because, all right, was that check with me? I was telling you about a quarterback draw on a 4th and 1 situation. I did not make it. But if you wanted a situation around the quarterback draw, and this was it, somebody just had to block at 38 a little better than he did. Again, defined. All right, you know right now that guy's not coming up there. All right, you got a single safety. Nobody's backing this guy up. All right, so right away you got solid protection. All right, you got 5 on the potential 4 rushers. 1 drops, you got 5 on 3. All right. Let me go over here, Bob, 2 minutes. I want to show a practical application of this, if you will. I'll show you the first series of our game against Baltimore, where we try to take, all right, and apply this. Oh, we came out against Baltimore. We're in regular people, all right, and we lined up and empty. We just came out of the huddle and lined up and empty, all right. So that's the fullback out there on the top of the screen, all right, and that's the middle linebacker out there covering them. All right, so I think you would like that, all right, matchup. But there it is, all right, the big bad, all right, Ravens, they're going to rush 6, though. We know right now what the deal is. All right, based upon our slide call right here, we know we're going to be hot off of the guy on the right. All right, here we changed our hot up. All right, comes the insides built into this route right here. Here comes the tight end in. And hey, that's a lot of space. Now, you spend a lot of time, if you people watch the Ravens, and I know you have, and you can run that ISO play a whole lot of times against them and not gain 6, 7 yards. All right, we got 2nd and 4 right now. All right? But you're in great shape. You got 3 on 2, all right, if they don't rush on the one side. All right, if they rush, all right, you got angles on them. You're inside out. Here's a good job. Watch 77. All right, guys trying to grab them on the TT. Hands, separation. All right, 2nd and 5. All right, empty again. Here they come. All right, they're going to be stubborn about it, but this guy's even at more of a disadvantage because he tried to disguise it by lining up on a slot. Same deal. But it spreads the field. It's definable, all right? First down.
Hey, guys, let me tell you, we got to play ball for the first game of the season next year. We just finished with that 8 games in the last 2. Okay, that offense, that offense right there, move the ball, the rest of it for everything.
All right, here's what I'm talking about, the poor man's sweep here, all right? Plus, playing in Baltimore, they don't call this offside down at the bottom. But this poor man's sweep, all right? Bingo, ball's out. I mean, and we did everything a little bit different. We did this on a 3-step tempo, all right? But there it is, ball's out. Get a block. I mean, if they miss a block, it's going to go for a bunch, all right? If they don't do anything but play ordinary defense, all right, we're going to get 5. There's 74. Step quicker, all right, maybe a couple more yards, all right? I guess they did call it. Here it's 1st and 5. Now, all right, they, with the penalty, all right, they ran nickel on. So as soon as they ran nickel on, we went back to, all right, our regular ball now. All right? So now we're still saying, hey, the best thing to do against a zone blitz team, especially somebody who runs the ball or likes to bring too strong, is toss the ball. So here we come. All right? There's a tight end coming in motion. All right, if he would have got any kind of decent leverage on this crack, he went too far inside, let the guy come across his face. All right, we might go to the house. But still, I'll take +4. Anybody not take +4? All right, there it is. If the tight end gets that, because we got 2 for 2, they're bringing a strong safety, all right, and a Mike linebacker right here, all right? We got those 2 with the 2 pullers. But now we got what we want, all right? We got sub, all right? Now here it is. They've decided, they've blitzed us 3 times now. Let's see, they're going to play coverage. Let's see what coverage looks like. Remember, I got 5 on 4. So that means with that extra lineman, I'm going to pick out one of these guys that we need help on, and we'll get a double on one of those. But there's 5 on 4. Ball's out. Okay. Regular ball now for us. All right, regular ball. All right. They know we got nickel. We're trying to run the ball against nickel, all right? And they know that. Boy, they're going to come up and stop the run. Now they're going to knock the shit out of this, all right, little lead play we're going to run. Unfortunately, all right, we couldn't keep that up. We had a chance. There's some guys in here, all right, that may still have a little money, all right, left in your recruiting budget, all right, and, you know, just like Howard talked about getting an idea for pass protection from watching the NBA, and I was thinking the other day, all those foreign players in the NBA, I know next year, instead of going to Indianapolis, I know where I'm going to go look for some talent. And you have a little money left in your spring recruiting budget, I think you might be interested in recruiting a couple of these guys. Yeah. Yeah. Numbers are going, so this thing ought to be rolling. No, sabotage. Talk about the finish. You have to do something about the ooh. This guy actually is an American right here. He's #1 ranked. Hey, good hand play, see him? All right, quick hand replacement, balance. So if anybody wants a copy of this, take your head coach and say you got a little bit of money left in the recruiting budget, I know where we can go find some offensive linemen.